This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And happy Saturday, everyone. Today is June 22nd, 2024. Isn't it amazing that 2024 is almost half over already? Amazing. This is, of course, the Dr. Sem Yankees Show here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We are here every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. And of course, this program is then also linked on the great Yankees site that I run. Start spreading the news. Let's make today a great day. How do you make each day great? Well, it is simple. There are two things you need to do. Number one, look to the good. Find it. It's out there. Too many people spend too much time looking for what's wrong. Find what's good. Perpetuate what is good. Appreciate what is good. So the second thing we need to do is pay that goodness forward. Help make other people find the good. And sometimes we need to be very blatant about that. And the way we do that is by performing good for them. Do something today that's bigger than yourself. Do something that has nothing to do with yourself. Something to help make someone else's life just a little bit better. It doesn't need to be something grandiose. It can be a phone call or an email or a donation of money or your time. It can be a visit. There are so many good things that we can do. And when we take the time to do them, we help make everything and everyone else a little better. Make today a great day. Little reminder that the Dr. Sem Yankees Show is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. You can find all of their wonderful books at apbooks.net. That's apbooks.net. apbooks.net. One of their great books is my wonderful novel, Scattering the Ashes. Now, Scattering the Ashes has received numerous, very, very, very many positive reviews. It won a number of awards, including Best Literary Fiction a number of years ago. It is a phenomenal book, but I'm going to take you behind the scenes of being an author. And by the way, there is a lot of baseball in this book. If you haven't read it yet, you need to. But maybe you don't like to read. Maybe you can't find the time to read. So if that's the case, what can you possibly do? Well, here is the great news. Artemisia Publishing is a small independent publisher out of New Mexico. But they provide services for their readers and their authors better, in my opinion. And I have talked to many authors, some published by the biggest publishing houses there are. Artemisia does things for their authors that other publishers just don't do. For example, with the Roy White book I wrote, if you recall, last summer, there were ads on the Yankee radio games about that book. Do you know what a thrill it was for me to hear John Sterling? Well, you know, Susan, there's a great book out there called Roy White, From Compton to the Bronx, written by Roy White with Paul Semendinger. Do you know what a joy it was for me to hear John Sterling saying my name often, week after week, on the Yankee radio casts? What a dream come true. Most publishers don't do that, especially for authors that don't sell tens of millions of books. All right. Or even 1,000,000 books. All right. Or even half that, or probably, well, definitely half that and half that and half of that. I think we're still way over the amount of books we have sold. The book is done very well, but we're not talking about a $1,000,000 seller or anywhere near that stratosphere. That's a whole different atmosphere. Yet the publisher does so many great things like this. I'm leading up to this. These last 2 days, that's me. That's me in New York City in a professional recording studio. That's me in New York City. That was yesterday, recording this book. Scattering the Ashes will soon be an audiobook. And this is what I've realized, little behind the scenes about being an author. I don't know if I've ever just read Scattering the Ashes. Of course, I've read it. I wrote it. I wrote it over many years. But I don't know if I've ever just sat back and read it. I've read it to proofread it. I've read it to edit it. I've read it as I make the changes that other readers have suggested I make in my manuscript. In the writing process, I've probably, or not, I want to get the phraseology right here. I probably read it 100 times. But there's a difference between writing a book and reading what you wrote and just reading the story. Disassociated from the writing process. Like, this is the story I wrote. And I'm doing that now, obviously, as I read the book. And I have to say this. I know it's my book. I know it's my novel. It's good. Oh my. There are things that just I say, wow, I did a good job on that. I really did that well. And so sometimes when you write a book, by the time it gets to the end, you're a little tired of the book. You're not tired of the story. You know it's good because you wrote it and someone's going to publish it, and there's something there that other people are going to like. And I've been told countless times how that book has brightened people's lives and helped them think about their own lives and get in better touch with their families and God and all sorts of big themes. But there's a difference that's hard to explain when you're working through a project. It's a job. I love writing. But in order to produce books of quality, great stories, it's a job. So many people say, I'd like to write. I wish I could write. Someone just asked me that a couple weeks ago. And I said, well, you need to sit down and start to write. Oh, I don't have time, the person said. But one day I'm going to have a book. Bad news. You're not. If you want to be an author, you can do it. But you need to make the time to write. All right, so I'm excited about the audiobook. It's very cool going into New York City. I don't love the commute. I'm glad I never had to work in New York City. I like to drive. I love to go into the city. I take the ferry each day that I've been going in to make these recordings. But driving to the ferry, driving home from the ferry, I mean, I'm doing it over a couple of days, and there's a weekend in between. But, oh man, I don't know how people do this day after day for weeks and months and years on end, commute with all that traffic into the city day after day after day. I've done it twice, 2 days in a row, and I've got to be honest, it's enough. I don't know how people do it. Anyway, you know what else I don't understand? I don't understand how the Yankees are doing so well. On starts spreading the news yesterday. You can still find the article. I wrote an article titled, you can still find the article on the homepage. All of the articles are there in our archives. There's a search bar. If you type in the word perspectives, you can read all of the articles that I've written with that as the overall theme, which are my articles where I discuss lots and lots of different thoughts about the Yankees. Anyway, the article I wrote that was published yesterday is called Concerns, Perspectives, Concerns. The Yankees, as of yesterday, remember I record these on Friday, so I don't know what happened when I'm recording this with the Yankee game last night, the Friday night game against the Atlanta Braves. But heading in, the Yankees led the American League and all of baseball in wins. And they're tied with the Orioles and the Phillies in all of baseball for winning percentage. And they're in first place, obviously. There's a lot that's good. But in that article, and as I wrote the article, I started to realize that, my goodness, this is a flawed team. And those flaws are being noticed, exacerbated, taken advantage of, coming to the becoming apparent in so many different ways of late. Number one, I think we're seeing very clearly that against the best teams, these Yankees are struggling. They played 3 games against the Dodgers and lost 2. Now, I know some people say, well, it's a short series. Anything can happen in a short series. Okay, that's true. I do think that's the mode. I've had many discussions with many Yankee fans about this. I think that's the mode the Yankees have adopted. That's their plan. Be good, be very good, so that you make the playoffs, hopefully, and then you're in a situation, short series, where anything can happen. Hey, we just might win it all. That's not how I would do it, and that's been one of my big criticisms about the Yankees is I would put together the best possible team, the team that's designed to win in the regular season and the postseason. I wouldn't build a team designed to win the regular season with the hopes that good lucky breaks might happen to help them win the postseason. No, that's not how I would build a team. That's what the Yankees have done. And they have, yes, indeed, been very successful at that. They're never under 500. They haven't been since the 1990s, I think 1993. They're always very good, but they're not great. And as the famous book says, good is the enemy of great. And the Yankees are 1-2 against the Dodgers. And if you say, well, it's only a short series, well, guess what the playoffs are? Only a short series. And they have played 7 games against the Orioles. And they're 2-5 against the Orioles. That's a problem. They can't beat the best teams in baseball that they've played. Now, people will say they did real well against the Twins, who were hot when they played them, and they've done real well against the Kansas City Royals. And all right, I get it. Yes, they've beat up on some teams, but nobody considers, even outside of their record, those teams great teams. The Dodgers are considered great. The Orioles are considered great. When the Yankees play the Phillies are considered great. And so far, the Yankees aren't beating them. And that's been something that's happened throughout from the start. And it hasn't changed throughout the Aaron Boone era. The Yankees don't beat the better teams. So the idea of building a team to be lucky, that's what I think they're doing. And if that's exactly what they're doing, it's not working. And it's not working again this year. And I've said this for a long time. This is the year. Judge isn't getting younger. We don't know if Soto will be back. Garrett Cole isn't getting younger. Giancarlo Stanton isn't getting younger. I don't think we'll have time today. But if you start to really look at the Yankees for 2025, oh my goodness, Alex Verdugo probably won't be back. Anthony Rizzo won't be back. Gleyber Torres won't be back. They still don't have a third baseman. Catching is a problem. We're going to get to some of this. Some of this overlaps. Who's on this team next year? If Juan Soto doesn't come back, this could be a disaster. This is the year the Yankees have to go for it. Now, unfortunately, outside of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, offensively, this is not a good team. There's a wonderful stat that I like because it's simple. I don't care how they figure it out. It's against league average and all this kind of stuff. I couldn't care about the mathematical process behind it. But there's a great stat called OPS plus. It's great because 100 is considered average. It's easy to look at, and it's easy to know if your player is above 100 or below 100. If he is significantly above 100, he's having a great offensive year. If he's significantly below 100, he's not. If he's just about 100, he's just about average. And if he is at 100, he is average. Jose Trevino, and we'll talk about his catching. I hope we have time. As a hitter, his OPS is 107. Slightly above average. Not great by any means, but a little above average. But Austin Wells, his OPS plus, 75. So the Yankee catchers, if you add those two numbers up, to be average hitters together would have to be averaging 200. And that's probably not good enough for a team that wants to win the World Series. But they're not even at 200. You add up Trevino and Wells, and you're at 182. The Yankee catchers are significantly below average. First base, Anthony Rizzo was 78. That's significantly below average. DJ LeMahieu, 43. Yikes. Now, I keep hearing on the radio, I've listened a lot to the radio as I've been driving to and from New York City. Michael Kay keeps saying that DJ is still in extended spring training. Okay, but he's not doing it in the big leagues. So maybe they shouldn't have activated him. He's obviously not ready. But if he's not in extended spring training, playing meaningful games in the big leagues, he's washed up. If this is the real DJ LeMahieu, an OPS plus of 43, that's not bad. That's very, 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 very bad. And so the Yankee 2 first basemen, you have a 43 and a 78. Now they brought up Ben Rice. They need to play Ben Rice. Last night, which would have been Thursday night, the Yankees played DJ LeMahieu at first base. I don't know the lineup last night, the real last night when you're watching this, because, well, I haven't seen the lineups yet. It's still Friday. At second base, Gleyber Torres, OPS plus 82, below average. Third base, Oswaldo Cabrera, 75, below average. Your catchers, your first baseman, your second baseman, and your third baseman that's 4 positions. They're all well below average. You can't win when 44% of your lineup isn't even average hitters. That's not good. It's, dare I say, terrible. Something needs to be done. Now, Anthony Volpe is having a nice year. Less power, but he's still hitting well. Enough. He's setting the table as the leadoff guy, but he's not walking a lot. He walked the other night, and there was a stat that said this is the first time he walked since May or some crazy thing like that. If you're the leadoff hitter, you need to be drawing walks. But anyway, his OPS plus is 108. Oh, Jose Trevino's is 107. And Anthony Volpe, who everybody's excited, myself included, about the successful year he's having, is just 108. That's not good. Alex Verdugo is having an amazing year in left field for the Yankees. His defense has been simply off the charts good. It's been fun to watch. He's made some dynamite, spectacular plays, including a couple of nights ago in center field. But his OPS plus is 103. That's worse than Trevino and Volpe. That's basically league average, which is fine. He's always been about a league average hitter. But he is primarily the Yankee cleanup hitter. Your cleanup hitter is just a league average hitter who doesn't have a whole lot of power. I think his greatest home run output in any season is 13. And your DH is Giancarlo Stanton, whose OPS plus is 119, which is basically what he did in 2022, which no one was happy about at the time. It was his worst year. And the only reason it isn't still his worst year is last year was worse. Now, Stanton's actually done much better than I ever thought he would, than most people ever thought he would. But a 119 OPS plus is good. It's really kind of pretty good. But it's not great if you think you're going to win the World Series and that's your third best hitter. Now, Aaron Judge's OPS plus is 213. That's ginormous. That's off the charts amazing. That's Babe Ruth territory. And Juan Soto's is 183. Again, off the charts, great, amazing, fantastic, and wonderful. But those two guys just can't be expected to be the only offensive threats and force in the Yankees if they think they're going to win a World Series this year. They need to address this lineup. They're supposed to be the Bronx Bombers. That's not a whole lot of bombing in that lineup. Add to the fact that their starters have all come back to earth. Add to the fact that their bullpen is almost to a man horrific. They can't get anybody out. And you've got a team, and you're saying, this is problematic. This is troublesome. Aaron Boone has never won the big series in the postseason. He's never gotten the team, despite all their players, to the World Series. Brian Cashman, since 2009, hasn't been able to build a team that's been able to get them to the World Series. And the last we heard from Hal Steinbrenner, he was saying, I don't think I need to spend this much money. We should be able to spend less and have a winner. So does that leave anybody with any hope or optimism? Now, they could change. All this can change. But going by the track records, going by the numbers I just read, is there a lot of room with the Yankees to be excited, not about where they were and how they got here, but where they go from here going forward? Are you confident that Hal Steinbrenner is going to say, if Brian Cashman comes to him and says, we need to get this player and spend this amount of money and that amount of money, are you confident he's going to be willing to do that when he's talking about not spending money? Now, one of the ways the Yankees, we just don't have a lot of time, 4 minutes. This goes far too quickly. One of the ways the Yankees believe they're going to be able to save money going forward is with Jason Dominguez, a guy who's played all of 8 big league games. Dominguez came up to the majors, said, my arm hurts. The Yankees ignored him. They played him in those 8 games, or maybe 6 games or 5 games with a sore arm. And it turns out now he needed Tommy John surgery, and he had it. And he was coming back and tearing the cover off the ball as old Casey used to do. And now he's injured. He's hurt his midsection, his oblique, and he's out for another 8 weeks. Basically, 2024 is going to be a lost season for Jason Dominguez. He came in late because he had to recover from the Tommy John surgery, and now he's going to miss another 8 weeks. And usually these things, when they say 8 weeks, it's usually longer. So I'm just going to read you some stats here. 2021, 57. 2022, 120. Not bad. 2023, 118. Not bad. 2024, 23. So far, we'll see what happens after he ever comes back. But those are the numbers of games Dominguez has played each of the last 4 years. 57, 120, 118, 23. Those numbers add up to 326. Now, granted, he's not in the major leagues, but the major leagues, had he been a major leaguer those last 4 years, the major league teams in that period will have played 648 games. In that same time period, Jason Dominguez, it'll be a little more than this, but because we assume he'll come back for at least some amount of games after he comes back from the oblique thing. But just to make it simple, let's say he doesn't come back, but even if he comes back, he's not going to be playing a significant amount of games. He has played 326 games, 326 out of a possible major league schedule, 648. That's like half. The years when he's supposed to be building his skills to make him the great major leaguer. Now he's 21 now, but next year he'll be his age 22 season. He turns 22 in February. After missing the end of last year, and then basically, for all intents and purposes, all of this year, he's going to have to begin next year in the minor leagues. And he's going to have to start from square one again, which means we might not see him in the major leagues in 2025. And now you're talking 2026. That's a real possibility. And then he's 24 years old, still young, yes, but not the super young baby superstar the Yankees thought they had. It's a concern. And unfortunately, the bigger concern is this is where the show has to end. Thank you for watching. 30 minutes comes far too quickly. Scattering the Ashes, such a great book. I'm loving reading my book. Hey, if I don't love it, that would be a problem. Make today great, not just for yourself, but for everybody in your life. Have a great day, and let's go Yankees.